Pickaxe.
Hello and welcome to the podcast version of this week's One Life Left radio show. I'm Simon Byron.
I am Steve Curran.
We've just finished recording a hurried end. We almost run out of time because we spent too much time at the start before the news. That was the longest pre-credits intro I think we've ever done. It's a good show, lots of very content. I was unable to actually show you the ROG Ally in its glory on the show, Steve. I called it a ROG Ally this morning, and some youngsters went, ROG, it's ROG. So that really does prove I can't be in the club. But the case arrived this morning. So I've been so this is the new handheld PC that came out last week. Beautiful piece of kit, which has been thoroughly unprotected since then, since the case arrived. As you may remember, I prepped. I'd got everything ready. I'd bought a new hard drive ready to replace it with. I bought some screen protectors from Amazon, 2 tempered glass screens for $8.99. They were here before the machine was. Don't ever do that, Steve. Don't ever be so stupid, because it turns out that the screen protectors that they send you when they're sending you in advance of a machine being released are not the screen protectors for the machine that they sold you on. And you think, oh, okay, I'll just get my £9 back. But then you go, well, that means I've got to go and got to go. So I left a 1-star review, Steve, on Amazon. That's me, a Kindle customer. As I'm billed publicly, I don't know why. I'm quite happy for my name to go on it. And then it took them a day to approve the review, and then I got a note saying it was live. And then there were 4 others going, "Don't buy this." Anyway, look. So it arrived in this case. I bought the official case, which again some of the ROG Ally community on Reddit have been complaining about. Mm-hmm. Look at that, looks nice though, doesn't it? But look at this around the side. I mean, it's all a bit gamery, isn't it? It says in big letters, "Republic of Gamers."
Gamers.
I said to Kate when I opened it when we got back this afternoon, she said, "I didn't know you joined the Republic of Gamers." I said, "Well, I did. I did
a passport.
I did actually in 2020 when I joined the Republic of Gamers. And anyway, I'm a fully fledged member now. So yes, I'm enjoying it a lot.
Well, I'm really glad it is working out for it. What's the battery life like?
Oh, well, I've not. Well, as with all of these things, I've not played it long enough to run out of battery yet. But yeah, it gives you the flexibility to choose. Do you want more FPSs? Yeah, I mean, there is a lot of tinkering to be done, and I definitely haven't finished the tinkering yet. And often with Windows-based machines, you end up sort of cheesing your way through stuff. I started playing Jedi Survivor on it, which doesn't run on the Steam Deck, I believe, or if it does, it doesn't run, like a handful of frames a second on it. So I loaded it up and started playing it just to see, and absolutely, I finished very happily finished the opening level. So played for maybe 40-50 minutes. You get into a cutscene, crashes. Okay. Okay, try that again, try different settings, crash. Anyway, what I've ended up doing, Steve, is because the way that Steam syncs, load up the old save game on my PC, get past the cutscene on my gaming PC, sync it again, and then you can carry on playing happily on the Ally. Oh, wow, the concessions
perfect.
it is so convenient, so convenient. So, if you are going to get this, just make sure you've got a backup PC in order to enjoy it. Talking of which, did you see that The Last of Us got verified this week? Steam verified. Neil Druckmann, I take back everything I've said about you. It's a bit late though. I've moved on. Sold my Steam Deck. There we go. Any other business, Steve?
I don't think so. I think we covered a lot of other business. It was a very other businessy show today, but it was fun.
There was no other news, unfortunately.
There was not, but it was good. I enjoyed it, and I'm excited about whenever I get to talk to you next week.
Yes, well, let's work out when that's going to be, look forward to that. But between now and then, everyone listening's got this to enjoy. Please do.
Hello, good evening, and welcome to One Life Left on Resonance 104.4 FM. We're a video game radio show. My name is Steve Curran.
Hello, I'm Simon Byron.
How are you, Simon?
I'm all right. Steve, how are you?
I am... I don't know. I'm okay generally, but very specifically, my daughter has an ear infection.
Ooh.
So she's been off to get antibiotics today, and I've got a bit of a sore throat. I feel something coming on as well. So, I'm all right. But forgive me if my voice goes at some point during the show. Also, I just got back from the cricket today. Went to the Oval.
Not the cricket.
Well, is the cricket for me? It's a good question, actually, Simon. Are you a club or country man? I don't mean for cricket or football or whatever.
Football club, cricket country.
Really? Okay. So if it came down to favourite... Oh, yeah, you don't really follow club cricket, do you? But if it came down to following a Queen's Park Rangers... wanting a Queen's Park Rangers victory or an England football victory, you would prefer QPR?
I would. Although that said, I've been really enjoying these weekends where we've not been playing football. It's just,
it's nice, isn't it?
It's just, it's been less depressing. And it's great because the fixtures haven't been announced yet either, so you can't even look at those and go,
it doesn't exist. Yeah,
exactly.
I mean, that's exactly how I felt. I think I said this on the show, but I felt after watching Stockport lose at Wembley was I'd had a few days, nice time at the cricket, watching Surrey, and Surrey are a dominant force in county cricket and destroyed the opposition. This week, Simon, they did their biggest ever chase, 501 to beat Essex in the fourth innings. It was incredible.
That is loads.
It was loads. And you know what? I would have been fine if they'd lost as well, because it doesn't... I really enjoy going to watch cricket, but it isn't the same for me. Like, as in, it doesn't matter about the result, as long as you see something good happen. Now, today... went to watch cricket, had quite a nice time, and Surrey got destroyed. They were massive defeat in the T20. And I feel fine, absolutely fine about it. But if it's football, I don't feel fine if the result goes against you.
I took a day off on Friday, went down the pub to watch the first day of the first Ashes test.
Nice.
It's good, very, very enjoyable. Moved around a few pubs. We ended up in a sports bar for the afternoon session, and at one point, a man walked past the pub. He stuck his head in. He looked at the TV to see what the score was, and then he just sort of shouted to the pub about what the England team should be doing right now. And no one asked for his opinion. No one was. I've got no idea who he was. Don't know whether he's trustworthy. And I thought that's what they must have done before social media, isn't it? Just walk around shouting at people and then moving on.
Everyone needs a release, don't they? And we are grateful that Twitter exists so that, if only so that it takes some of that pressure off. People like you are just trying to enjoy a drink in a pub. They don't need that input, do they? You've got your own thoughts on whether we should have declared.
You should have caught it.
I do wonder, like we are a video game radio show, and we do talk about video games a bit. We will be doing that for the next 50 or so minutes. But whether there is a reason that this is relevant to video games, because oftentimes when I'm playing games with my daughter, I say, we've been playing Mario Tennis. She got very sad the other day because we were playing cooperatively and the other team beat us. And I said, Alice, it's about the journey. The joy of a game is about the journey, and it's not just about the result. Now, for me, in football, it kind of is. I can appreciate I watched Manchester City play in the Champions League final, and I could not have cared less who won. And it was enjoyable to watch because of that. But when I'm watching my own team, I only care about the result. There's no pleasure there. And I don't know, for me, video games occupy some of that space sometimes. It's about just beating it. And sometimes it is about the journey. It is about enjoying it, as it is for Zelda at the moment for me. Just plodding through a game for the pleasure of meandering around and unlocking shrines, and I could not care less whether I end up saving the world or not.
we had an incident at our house a couple of weeks ago where Ramona had a friend round. And I'm not sure what Alice is like at the moment, but Ramona very much wants to do what she can see directly in front of her. So she'll sort of go in the house and go, oh, I want to do this. I want to play Lego. I want to do this. And that. So her eyes landed on the Switch and she said, I want to play Mario Kart. I said, okay. So I set it up for her and her buddy, put them on the 50cc, let them choose a course. Off they went. Ramona came first in the first race and she was super happy with that. Then it all went wrong, didn't it? So she then didn't come first for the remaining races, stormed out of the room and went upstairs and insisted that the error was because her friend had picked the wrong stupid courses and that she asked for her friend to leave the house, go home, go back to your house now. So, she's young, obviously, emotions run high and they really do want to be the best and win at everything that they do. So we got over that, but this prompted me to invent a new form of Mario Kart.
Okay.
So when I've been playing it with her subsequently, we play Mario Kart in 2-player, and my objective is to make her win. It's a really good way of playing Mario Kart.
And do you let her know that that's your pure...
No.
Right, okay.
No.
All right.
So she's racing away. I'm sort of hanging back a bit, but taking out people who might be taking her out. Or if she falls behind, I race ahead, take those out and sort of encourage her. Now, I haven't been able to do it successfully in every race, but it really does.
You're a bodyguard. That's
playing with, obviously Mario Kart has many of these assists that enable her to have a good time. But, they're very easily beaten, aren't they, children at this age? Whereas this way now, I don't want to win. I want her to win. And it's turned it into a team sport.
I was on the way home from nursery the other day, and I am worried about this streak in Alice that is competitive and only cares about the result, right? And she's even turned the journey home from nursery. It's always got to be, I've got to win. I've got to be the first home. Sorry, she has to, right? So I'm not allowed to go in front of her at all, because I want to be the first home. I want to be the first home. I think did I mention on the show the other day that I caught her rolling we were playing a board game. She rolled a dice. She got 3, and then she picked up the dice again, said, I don't want that. I want a 6. And I said, that's not how games work. And she said, well, Mummy lets me.
Ooh.
I looked at Mummy, and Mummy said, look, it's 7 a.m. when we play this game normally. What am I meant to do? Right. Well, you're meant to obey the rules of the game. Anyway, we were walking home the other day, and I was like, how am I going to... How can I stop this always being a competitive thing, and also always being about number one, always being about the first? So I said, Alice, there's a new rule today. The government have just put out a notice that there's a new rule in the coming home from school competition. The person who comes second is actually the winner.
Oh, have they?
Yeah, and as it's a lot that the government does, it turns out it's idiotic, because what it meant was we just ended up standing there because she didn't want to move again, so that was disastrous. Anyway, I'm a game designer, so is Simon, evidently, and we're a video game radio show. We're going to be doing the news as hosted by our AI bot, Charles Bot. That's going to come up in a couple of minutes, probably less than that. We've got the reviews section at the end of the show. Simon, have you got your new toy?
I do have my new toy, Steve, yeah.
I'm so excited to find out what's going on with that. And we don't have a guest today, but we do have a verified letter, at least one, maybe one. We'll see. Do you have any other business, Simon?
I don't think so at the moment, Steve.
All right, it's time for the news.
Video game news. With me, Charles Bot 1.0. Sony has announced plans to roll out cloud streaming for PlayStation 5 games. This feature will be available for PlayStation Plus Premium subscribers and will include various PS5 games. Sony is continuing development to allow for PS3, PS4, and classic games to be streamed cloud as well, so you can jump right into your favorite games without having to download them to your PlayStation 5. So if you want to mask the amount of naughty videos you are watching, you can still do it with the help of PlayStation 5 and streaming.
I think Charles Cecil needs to talk me, Charles Bot, modelled on Charles Cecil's voice, but not actually Charles Cecil.
Of course he's not.
No, of course not.
It's nothing to do with Charles Cecil.
It isn't. Needs to talk me through what he means by that.
Well, if for example, your AI wife monitored the bandwidth that the household was consuming,
I see.
You could say that you were just playing God of War Ragnarok.
Or anything else from the PlayStation library in the future, perhaps. Is that where they're going with this? Allowing everything to run on a supercomputer in the cloud so they don't have to worry about making them accessible for you to download.
Yes, I mean, that was an admission, wasn't it? We don't have to download them then, so we'll stop making them so big. Yes, but interestingly, it's still directly to your PS5, which does feel like an abuse. Feels like overkill, technological overkill, that you've got this hulking great console underneath and you're using it to stream to. I understand the sort of convenience angle of it, but Microsoft does let players choose what they're streaming it on. You can do it on your mobile phone, you can do it on your browser, you can do it on your console. It'd be nice to see that open up as well. I still can't fully see a world in which you would choose to stream your own titles rather than have them downloaded on your console. I mean, I know juggling these games around can be quite problematic, but still, I think the advantages of doing so completely outweigh having to sort of play it on a reliable connection and
but I would assume this is Sony testing the water for an Xbox, a Game Pass-like service in the future. I mean, it makes sense to have a limited audience at the start, right, and to iron out the kinks for a subset of the people who are going to be using it. So make sure it works on this platform at the same time as being a nice PR boost for the PS5. Buy this and you get access to all of this stuff as well. And then ultimately, a little bit down the road, they can roll that out to Sony, to other devices, much like they've put games on Steam. That said, they've also announced a piece of hardware, haven't they, recently?
Yes. Did we talk about this?
I don't think we did, because I don't get it, and mostly I only get things after I've talked to you about them. So,
oh well, I'm going to be very little help here. So, to be fair to them, they've not given a lot of detail about it. They've shown what it most likely will look like, and it does look like somebody's cut a DualSense controller in half and shoved an 8-inch or so screen in the middle.
Shall I tell you what I understand about
yes,
it?
I was going to say, for those listeners that haven't seen this news, I
understand it to be a handheld device on which you can play. It's streaming only handheld device, so there will not be games made specifically for it, but instead you'll be streaming your PlayStation 5 games on it. Is that right?
Yes. Where will you be streaming them from, Steve?
Well, that I'm not sure about. I guess from your console.
Yeah, so right? Your console has to be on, and I believe you have to be on the same network as it. So it's not as if you're going to be able to use this in a hotel, for example. Not that you'd be able to do one anyway on there. On hotel Wi-Fi. But yes, so your console, this will be very much that if your PlayStation is under the family telly and it's 7:30 on a Monday and you're not listening to One Life Left, you're instead sitting down to watch EastEnders, you will then also be able to play God of War Ragnarok on this device. Now, they've not said what price it's going to be, so that will be interesting to see. But yeah, it's... given that you can now already stream from your console to your PC and I believe your mobile phones, it's solving a problem that I'm not certain many people have had yet.
But if you can stream games on your PS5 from across Sony's library and then restream them onto this handheld, double stream, that means you'll have more than just your PS5 content on there, right? You'll have access to Sony's whole library potentially on this handheld device.
Potentially, yeah. That word's doing a lot of heavy lifting.
I'm just trying to look for an exclusive. That's all.
Despite the poor performance of their newly released game, Redfall, Microsoft has no plans to shut down the studio behind it, Arcane Austin. This news comes from Xbox Game Studios boss Matt Booty, who's promised to support the studio as they continue to deliver on their vision for the game. The studio has already released a major patch for the game, and it's receiving good play in Xbox Game Pass. It's unfortunate to see entitled games journalists wanting studios to suffer the consequences of a failed game instead of providing criticism and support in the spirit of getting another great game out of them.
Well, they never have plans to shut down a studio until they shut down the studio, do they?
They don't. But yeah, if you were to predict what's likely to happen here, yeah, I don't know. It's just I couldn't quite get to the bottom of what prompted them to say that. No, we're definitely not. We didn't ask you. Why are you changing the locks? Yeah, but there's been a lot of chatter on social media about the glee with which so this was, I think, a response to somebody being asked, well, are you going to shut them down then? It's a lot of talk about the glee with which this seems to be reported, or often the case where someone smells blood and is sort of trying to preempt a story.
I haven't looked at the rest of the news stories yet, but do you have anything in there, or does Charlesbot have anything in there about
yes,
the statement that games are going to take 5 years to make?
Oh, no.
No.
I thought you were going to say probably the next one. Go on.
Did you see that this week?
Who's that from?
I don't know. I'm now Googling. Games are going to take 5 years to make.
How many words per minute are you when you're typing there?
That's a good question. I don't know. Maybe
that sounded fasty.
I am quite fast.
When you're coding, are you that fast?
Well, I just have ChatGPT, so speed of light, isn't it? Yeah, that's not found anything. But there was some chat on the internet this week that players should get used to the fact that games just take 5 years to make now, which is not true, right? Like, some sorts of games take 5 years to make. I think the statement included AAA games as a sort of rider. And then the question was, isn't that too long? Basically, by the time you finished a game, then it's not just about technology having moved on, but the world has moved on as well. And certainly genres will have become more sophisticated during that period of play, and the way we play games will have changed, but also themes that are present in your game. If your game is, well, obviously it can't take part in the zeitgeist 5 years on, but even just commentary that you might offer, like in the game, on things that are going on in the world, making it absolutely dated by the time it comes out. 5 years is too long, is it?
What a strange thing to say, though. I mean, because it's not as if there's one game coming out every 5 years, is there? There's loads of games all the time. And if we have to get used to it, why don't you just not tell us about them until
they're
6
ready?
months?
Yeah.
6 months before they come out, maybe.
I don't know. Maybe as with everything in these days, I consumed it via headlines, right? Not through the actual story, but maybe it pertains to games like those that are the big hitters, GTAs and Skyrims, and the ones that people are just waiting for the next one. And it's like, why does it take you so long to make this? Well, because it's a project involving thousands and thousands of people. Yes. I heard you typing. Did you find any more information?
I did not, Steve. I was
made it up.
Typing slowly and quietly. Yeah, GTA's 10 years old this year.
Wow. Yeah.
And they still haven't made another. That's longer. That's more. 10's more than 5, isn't it? Somebody needs to go tell Rockstar.
For those looking forward to a LEGO football game, it looks like it's finally happened, as the Game Rating and Administration Committee of Korea gave an all-ages rating to the game, titled LEGO 2K Goooal. It will be the second game in the deal following the release of LEGO 2K Drive, which was released earlier this year. Let's just hope scoring goals in this game is easier than assembling a LEGO set.
Ooh. It's commentary from someone who's never put together Lego.
Did you... well, I assume you saw this news. It's Lego 2K Goooal. Goooal. Guess from an AI bot who's never seen football play out as well. Are you excited about this?
Don't know. I've not played 2K Drive yet. I like the look of it. The football market is certainly ripe for different types of games, different types of experiences. I think if you could assemble players from good bits of other footballers, could be fun.
That'd be nice. I think certainly players of a certain age, i.e. me and you, hark back to the glory days of sensible World of Soccer when you had a very simple football game that was finely balanced and also had a load of football-y fluff around it that you could participate in, a lightweight management game, and feel the glory of taking a small team up to the top of the world and do a bit of the nice football manager stuff as well. There isn't anything like that around at the moment. There isn't anything there isn't a football game that I enjoy. And I also I've talked about this before, I'm sure, miss the joy of that era of sports games, competitivity, like play someone who's not played the game before, or be someone who's sunk 100 hours into it and still have a competitive game with someone who's only played it for an hour. And that doesn't seem to exist at the moment either. Football Manager is much too complicated for me. Even the mobile version, which is simplified, I always think I'm going to love it and then play it for 20 minutes and I'm soon overwhelmed and I stop playing. And FIFA, similarly, like absolute joy to play Stockport for the first time, in years and years and years, but ultimately just found it too rich, too deep, and too long for me to play before I'm scoring wonder goals and feeling like I'm a master of it. I'm interested in something that harks back to the sort of 90s, early 2000s.
Good. Well, let's hope that it's true. What do you think of the name, Steve, though? Obviously, we've flagged some problems it has with an AI pronunciation.
Goooal.
Well, so it's Lego 2K Goal. Gooal.
Feels hard to protect from people calling their game goal with 4 O's or registering, a slightly different domain. It's fun, so maybe it promises something that I do want. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, you can see it must be very difficult to name a football game in particular. This really does feel like when you see social media handles for games that have been sort of slightly too late or what have you. This could be called Lego 2K Football _game or something similar to that.
Did you see the news that Martin Tyler, the sports commentator, is leaving Sky? So this is going to be his final season, I think. Or maybe, as we've established, we're mid-season, so I don't know when that takes. Maybe he has left now. But of course, in the press releases about it, it had lots of people saying nice things. And it said, who can forget his classic commentary? Aguero! I wonder what it must be like to be most famous for just shouting someone else's name.
I'm so pleased that we stayed up that day and didn't get relegated by that goal, because that cry just follows you around. And we're very, very fortunate because we lost to Man City that day, the day that the first time they won the Premier League, down to Aguero. Fortunately, we were both able to celebrate rather than, that's noise depressing me for that reason.
The Embracer Group has announced a plan for restructuring that will see some game studios closed, projects cancelled, and is expected to lead to job losses. CEO Lars Wingefors stated this program is intended to make the company leaner, stronger, and more focused. On the bright side, jokes about Embracer not embracing its employees anymore won't take long.
Yeah, who could have seen this coming? Also, would it be possible to make a games company that is less lean or less focused than Embracer, as they've been catamarying around picking up game studios left, right and centre over the last couple of years?
Yes, and this is the result of that, where in the quest for growth and to please the shareholders, they've been demonstrating that they're going to be bigger and better, but just by buying up people and things. And then suddenly, when it comes to paying back some of the money that you borrowed to buy those companies, or you are at the whims of, they say that they lost a big deal. But if your company is that precarious, surely you're not. There's something not right about it anyway. And you just have to wonder, which individuals, what teams, what companies, and what games IPs are going to be casualties to this just relentless greed.
Yeah, and it is fundamentally greed motivated, isn't it? Because if you start a studio and you sell to a company like that who is collecting things, you stand to gain a lot of money. But of course, all of your employees, they are suddenly at risk because at some point that money runs out. At some point the money, the promise is we're part of a bigger organisation now. It's going to be better for us. They'll look after us. Well, they won't look after you when the share price starts falling or when they want to do some business machinations that I don't understand. And then all of the employees who've essentially put your company in the position that allows you to sell it and benefit personally, they're the ones who are at risk now, aren't they?
Yeah, so, best of luck to everybody involved. I think it's a situation that no one's surprised by, but it's still nonetheless depressing to see it play out.
It looks like we all had an inkling of the out-of-this-world talent possessed by acclaimed video game director Hideo Kojima, as he was reportedly heard at a recent premiere of a documentary about him, asking to be sent to outer space to create a space-based game. His past work, including the Boktai, The Sun is in Your Hand game, which included a light sensor activated by taking your GBA outside into the sun, and his stated desire in the past to create a game that would self-destruct. Should the player die in-game, all point to his creative genius. We always suspected Hideo Kojima was on drugs, but now we know.
Says our AI bot, not us.
Not us!
I mean, we're all on drugs, aren't we, Simon, in some respect these days?
Yes, we are. I was about to get to my medical issue.
Just list out your medication.
Yeah.
Just constantly. So it's entirely possible Hideo Kojima is not on drugs. We just don't know.
But he wants to go to space to make a video game, Steve, is what he wants to do.
Which would certainly imply some kind of ideas within him. I don't know what he's planning to make. I have little interest. I didn't know that Sun game was by him.
Yes.
Huh. I remember, I think I reviewed that for Edge back in the day.
What did you give it?
Although I have no idea, can't remember, and there's literally no way of knowing whether I reviewed it for Edge. Because we'll go back and have a look at the reviews, and there were no names by them in those days. But I don't know. There's not a lot of sun in the UK, so I can't imagine I got very far. Are you excited about Kojima going to space?
Well, do we think he will do it?
No, absolutely not.
No, but he wants to.
Well, we all want to. Well, actually, do we want to? Do you want to?
There's a good question.
Would you?
Well, now, no, probably not.
I think no. I don't think I would. I don't think it'd be very interesting.
To gaze upon the wonder of the Earth and realise how tiny and inconsequential we are.
Well, that depends whether you get a window seat, doesn't it? Otherwise, you're just stuck in there. I don't know. Maybe, people say that's life-changing. But you know what? When I was a kid, Simon, I used to love the idea of being in a maze. Like a classic maze. You'd see them in book, like a hedge maze. Yeah. I genuinely really wanted to be in a maze.
Well, had you never been in one?
No, I'd never been in a maze. I'd seen them.
Okay, so,
seen pictures of mazes. And I thought, how good would it be, instead of tracing your finger through a maze to try and get to the centre, to actually live that, to be in a maze? I'd played 3D games. Eye of the Beholder is basically just a maze, isn't it? Doom is essentially a maze. Those maze games have got better and better, but they're still substantially, worse than I imagined my eyes would be inside a maze. And then one day, I reckon I was in my 30s, got to go to Hampton Court and finally, for the first time, go in a maze. It was rubbish. It was just hedges. If only you could talk to the hedges. I thought. No, you wander around in a maze. Spoiler warning, if you've still got the anticipation of one day being in a maze. But you wander around, all the hedges look the same. You've no idea which way to go. There's very poor game design. Eventually, you find the centre of the maze. It's just more hedges, and then you have to get out again. And that's a bit annoying. So, yeah.
7 out of 10.
Well, no, I just think maybe going to space is the same. Everyone's like, oh, it's incredible. You'll go to space, you'll look at the Earth, but it'll be a bit smaller. And then you do that, and, yeah, don't know. Sorry. So what about you, Simon? You don't think you would?
Well, I was definitely interested, but how you've just described it, it sounds terrible.
Yeah, but
no.
What about mazes? Have you ever been in a maze?
I have been in a maze, Steve. Yeah, I don't know. How did you get to 30 without being in a maze? That's a sort of... You could probably write a book about your broken childhood and use that as an example. Yeah, they are frustrating, aren't they? And I've never tried the thing that you're supposed to do if you just want to get out of a maze.
Just follow the right wall.
Well, I was going to say left wall, actually, Steve. So
really?
That's
okay.
You say potato. So I've never done that, but no, I was, I do remember being in a maze reasonably recently, but it had a bridge above it that you could just go and then sort of heckle people as they trying to get out. So that was fun.
Would you treat it if you were in that position? Did you find yourself in that position? Did you heckle?
No, I didn't. No, I'm too scared to do anything like that sort of thing.
Because it's a bit Souls-like, isn't it? Like telling people, it's over there. So just go right at the end of this way. Yeah,
have you ever been in a glass maze?
No, I've been in one maze. It was a hedge. Maze? It was rubbish.
Wow. Glass mazes are horrible.
Really? I've been in a sort of a mirror. A mirror.
It's a slight improvement on a glass maze.
Yeah, it wasn't really a maze. It was a Kojima exhibition at the Tate Modern, but it was designed to fool the eye into thinking you were in an infinite room, and it sort of wiggled about, and everyone was a bit like, ooh, they were a bit like cautious. Oh, you don't know if this is the way forward or if this is a mirror. But I clocked that if you looked at the floor, you could see the join. You could see where the sort of the mirror met the floor, and you could use that to navigate. So I strode confidently through this thing with my friend, right out of the door, and then walked straight into a fire hydrant. She was kind enough not to mention that. That's the end of the news.
That's the end of the news. Yeah, it's a strange mix of news this week. For some reason, not a lot's happened. I guess after we've splurged everything up Jeff Keighley's wall, there is going to be a moment of quiet as we've just demonstrated.
Thanks, Simon, and thanks, Charles Bott.
One Life Left video game news with
me, Charles Bott 1.0.
You are listening to One Life Left on Resonance 104.4 FM. We're a video game radio show. Resonance is the greatest radio station in the world. You should listen to other shows on Resonance. But you might also be a podcast listener. I don't know. We are a podcast as well. You can find that at www.onelifeleft.com. Lots of links at hello.onelifeleft.com. You can find the show notes there as well. There you'll find links to the Discord and things where we hang out and chat about the show, or where you can post a letter. I think it's time for the One Life Left letter section.
Email, messages and forward BCC. One Life letters.
Thank you, Chris Conroy. Glad to see you're well and still listening. He wrote, Dear team, Charles Pot 1.0 and SSG. How long have you got for the letter section this week? This is a bit of a ramble and contains fuzzy memories that I haven't fact-checked. Bear with me, bear with. Way back before the podcast Event Horizon, the team that went on to form the Crate and Crowbar had a PC gaming podcast with an ensemble crew that rotated in and out. And there was this one member who became increasingly invested in one of the big MOBAs. Let's say it was League of Legends for the sake of the story, because that feels better placed on the podcast hype curve than Dota 2. Anyway, this bloke used to turn up every week, and across a sprawling multi-hour episode where the team went into great detail on the latest games that eventually turned to him and asked him what he'd been playing. At which point, he'd spend 30 minutes going into huge detail on his adventures in League of Legends land. This was usually preceded by a half-hearted apology for not having played anything else at all. The MOBA ate my homework, which only served to highlight his increasing isolation from the rest of the discourse. Was there even a discourse back then? Eventually, he was quietly dropped from the rotation. The podcast went back talking about the dozens of games released on PC every week, and somewhere, just as the butterfly flaps its wings, 3 new MOBA podcasts were born. So anyway, I spent the last few weeks almost exclusively playing the NYT crossword, and very recently playing F1 2022 on PS5, which I found to be excellent in communicating tactile detail through the controller once you rewire your brain to learn what it's trying to tell you. EA have done a great job gamifying the process of repeating the same lap over and over again. You just want to switch off and get into a flow state. Now and then it's quite the thing. What games give you just the right haptic feedback? And can you tell when they're slowly rewiring your brain to recognise that? Ah yes, quick rumble in that part of the controller means I've accidentally breached the unspoken social media protocol for the 1922 committee, and Graham Brady will be on me like indictments on a former Prime Minister. Your Crape and Crow's Care correspondent, Chris Conroy.
Well, fantastic letter, Chris. And like something I can very much relate to as someone who has sunk too much time into the New York Times crossword over the last year. Like, absolutely brilliantly put together piece of game design, and has dwarfed the amount of time that I've spent playing anything else, except perhaps Zelda, which I am very much in danger of falling into the same trap as the chap mentioned in that letter. It is the game that I played this week by far the most. I touched on a couple of other things as well, which I'll mention in the show later. So yeah, to speak to your actual question, games which use haptics in a brain-altering sense.
It's a tricky one to come off the bat with, isn't it? I was still wondering who this bloke was that we've gone into detail. It's not named in the letter, is it?
All right, so maybe think about it this way. Which gaming sensations, like if you're asked to think of some physical feedback that a game has given you in the past, I can immediately sense the clack of a point-blank gun, right? Like, it's so present that it is almost that game to me. And there must be others like that, right? Like, I definitely aware of mobile games when they have good haptic rumble in them, right? That makes the tactile. And that's something I'm thinking a lot about at the moment with the game I'm making as well. What else?
Lots of the VR games do haptic very well. And even when you're playing Walkabout Mini Golf, it does feel like you're putting a ball, even though you're not.
When I made my cricket game, I really wanted to make a haptic bat for it. Because that was definitely the thing that was missing from my prototype, was the sense of when you when you make a shot, there's no feeling of collision with the ball, and it's quite unsatisfying in that way. Now, a clever haptic designer would imply that collision in some other sense, right? You would do a tap on the controller, which I added, right? But also an audio sound effect, which was different to the cricket ball in a way that also implied, hey, you've really hit it. Something like that, maybe some screen shake. I was not clever enough, so I just fantasized about making an actual bat with some kind of hammer in it that would go donk at the same time. I never did that, obviously.
Were you ever properly fooled by 1-2 switch?
Oh, the balls inside the controller one. Yeah, that was clever. That's a good answer. That was really, really smart. I think I was. I remember when you played that. I think we were in Denmark. I think you'd taken your Switch to when we did Maraoke at the Copenhagen Game Jam. So I think you were showing it us there. And yeah, that's super, super impressive.
Super impressive.
Let me check the Discord, see if there are any other letters. If you want to write to One Life Left, you can do so by emailing
team@onelifeleft.com.
We do have a channel on the Discord called the Mailbag, where people can post letters. We have one here from the Sound Bomber who says, "Afternoon, guys." Sorry, I should really start the theme up again at this point. "Afternoon, guys. Just listening to episode 509 and Simon's take on Tears of the Kingdom. Just wanted to say that I totally agree. I've mentioned before in another letter that I really didn't get Breath of the Wild. I don't dispute its quality. I get why people love it, but it just wasn't for me. But after getting caught up in the thrill and the hype like the many, I picked up a copy on launch. I'll be honest and say so far, I'm enjoying it more than the first. I put in about 30 to 40 hours so far and I'm still with it. But like any other Zelda I played in the past, I don't imagine for a minute that I'll be still there until the credits roll. I'm not trying to take anything away from two very polished titles, but sometimes I really want to be there with everyone else caught up in the excitement. But I think that also sometimes I have to accept that some games, regardless of how good or popular, aren't for me. Keep up the work, Matt." Well, I'll let Simon answer that.
Thanks for that, Matt. Yes, I think that's definitely part of it. That's why I've been burnt before on the Souls-type games.
I have still got your Dark Souls. I found it in my Switch the other day when I was looking for Mario Tennis. I don't think there's anything wrong with wanting to feel part of something. And that was really nice for the opening week of Zelda, was seeing everyone else play it. And it's also totally fine to play something and not get it. That happens with us all the time. I mean, me with the Souls games as well. It took me, 40 hours or something of playing... oh my God, my mind's just gone blank.
Elden Ring.
Thank you. I was nowhere near getting that. Of playing Elden Ring before I understood why other people enjoyed it. And that wasn't me enjoying it, really. I sort of started to unpick the loop and enjoyed riding around. But at no point did I think I'm a person who's ever going to finish this game. And I'm pretty much like that with Tears of the Kingdom as well. But I'm still enjoying effing around in it at the moment.
Ben has also written into the mailbag, but I can't be certain that what he's written isn't obscene in any way. So I'm not going to read that out, Ben. I'm not reading that out in case that's a joke I don't quite get.
If you want to see the letter that Ben has written, you'll have to join the Discord. You can do that with the link that is in the show notes. Right, I think that's all of the letters, isn't it, Simon?
It is, Steve.
All right, let's play a jingle. And there'll probably be an advert after this as well. We'll be back after this. Tell you what, Simon, on the Discord they've been chatting about the adverts they've been getting.
Have they been enjoying them?
They've been surprised. Some of the adverts have felt quite judgmental. So if you're unnerved by what you've just heard, do let us know on the Discord. And
all I can say is that the algorithm knows you better than anyone else, and is only suggesting appropriate products. And so maybe you should do something about it.
Look at yourself, not at us. That's what we are. Advising. What else do we have to talk about on the show? I should give people a Maraoke update. By the time you hear this podcast, this radio show, there'll be tickets available for our next gig. And our next gig is going to be on July the 11th at Develop Brighton. Or, rather, in Brighton while Develop is going on. This is a resolutely unofficial engagement indeed. It's taking place at the same time as the official party. So you can choose, listeners, whether to spend £25 on the official party, where I believe you get 2 drinks, or whether you can come to the Maraoke party, which is at a pub near the station, and it'll be a tenner, and there'll be only good people there. You will not be able to network because everyone will be yelling songs, and you will not get any free drinks, but it will be a really good time that you will remember. Simon, are you going to be around?
Well, I believe that you scared off the official party because that's being held on the 12th.
Oh, really? Has it moved?
They've moved it because I think they were listening. I think the games industry was listening to the show last week when you were speculating about doing it on the Tuesday, and so it's now on the Wednesday. So so you can sing and then network if that's your vibe.
If that's your priority, yeah. If you have to do that, I'm looking forward to it. I'm also thinking of doing something on Tuesday during the day, but I'm not ready to talk about that. However, Simon, you're speaking at the conference, aren't you?
I am, yes, twice.
Do you know when your time slots are yet?
I do, 12:15 on the Thursday and 4:30 on the Thursday.
Right. So if I was to do something on the Tuesday, it wouldn't be sabotaging you.
It wouldn't be sabotaging me at all. In fact, in some ways, it would be preferable because I haven't written either. In fact, I only came up with only came up with the idea for the final session this morning.
Okay, what is it?
Because they've told me that they need the session description tomorrow.
Okay, perfect. Can you tell us?
Yeah, well, it's going to be game show games based around video games, isn't it? As usual.
Okay, you came up with that this morning by going, "I'll do what I do usually."
Well, but it needs some sort of framing, doesn't it? I mean, I wanted to do because the New York Times has ripped off Only Connect.
Oh yeah.
I was going to pitch it as find out what the New York Times are going to rip off next.
Right.
But I've been advised not to.
So do you think that's what happened there?
Well, it's hard. It can't be a coincidence, can it?
So Only Connect is not the only game out there that does that style of game. There is a very popular, I can't remember what it's called, grid puzzle or something, that also was like, all right, this is our game. And there's we've done 50,000 of these over the last 10 years or however long it's been. I don't know whether that claims to have taken its inspiration from the round in Only Connect or not.
Yeah, but if you're looking for patterns and the New York Times buys Wordle, fine. Mm-hmm. The next thing they do is a round from Countdown, and then
similar.
And the next game is from another UK-based quiz show. I don't. It's not inconceivable to suggest that they are casting their net across the UK game shows and repurposing them.
What I found the most, I don't know, distressing part of this was seeing the announcements from the game designers on the New York Times team of just we're so proud of each other and we're so we're so excited to get out there. Please let us know what you think. And those things seem to be written absolutely genuinely to me. And I've met some people who work for the New York Times who are lovely people as well. So I don't know. Maybe I'm more inclined to believe these things because of what I know. But I don't know why you would make those Twitter posts if you expected to get back just thousands of people going, that's someone else's game. You can't do that. You shouldn't do that.
Yeah, and it's tricky though, isn't it? Because Wordle is Mastermind anyway, right? But with a slightly different spin on it, as a more shareable Mastermind. Yeah. So their biggest success has come from a game that has already existed. It isn't anybody's. Mastermind was a long, long time ago. But yes, I'm wondering whether that was a copyrighted game. Do you think Mastermind? I mean, it's different enough to Mastermind. Anyway,
Yeah.
Mastermind,
And it's also almost impossible to copyright a game mechanic anyway.
Yes.
So,
but is it impossible to invent something that's identical to someone else's?
I mean, easily, like totally possible to do that, and it's possible to do that. Yeah, it's possible to do that deliberately, and it's possible to do that with absolutely no influence to arrive at the same point as someone else logically, and it's also possible to do that unintentionally, to have been someone who's seen this a long time ago and completely forgotten about it, but when they're messing around with words and grids, starts putting them in 4x4 grids. I don't know. You know that I'm launching a game later this year, a puzzle game, and I'm terrified. Like it's the best thing I've ever designed, but it is incredibly pure and simple. And it's every time someone sees it, they love it. But their second question is, "Does this exist? This must exist." And then
have they answered that question?
Yeah, by searching, and it doesn't.
Well, there we go.
But
so did that step happen with whatever the New York Times called this?
But the fact that like they've called it Connect,
that's it,
as well, is just seems a bit silly if that's where they've taken the inspiration from straight away. I don't know, right? Like I don't know how big that show is in the US either. I don't know whether the people who designed this thing in New York are if I had to bet, I would say that there is some influence from it somewhere, like forgotten. I don't know, but I also don't know whether that's as present to them as it is to us. And when I say to us, like there's a lot of people in the UK who don't know what that show is either, right? Like
back in the old days of video games magazines, we used to have a right old Barney with our rivals. We used to do it in a funny way. We used to make us laugh. We think it used to make them laugh, and it made some of the readers laugh. We once did a spread taking the mickey out of Amiga Action's reader reviews, and so we did a spread and we wrote some just really awful reviews about games, and handed it over to the designer, handed the words and pictures over. And sort of off it went. And obviously you see it on the screen. It was only when it came back in our hands, I opened it up and I went, F, that's identical to theirs. Like it was identical. And I'm like, that's too close.
Yeah.
Maybe that's what happened here.
Do you ever have that moment where you think of a joke or something funny to say on Twitter and then you search and 12 people have said it already? That happens to me all the time. And I, then go, I am a boring dude, and I am not going to say that.
Just go around shouting it into pubs.
It's time for the reviews. Simon, I've only been playing Zelda this week. Again, I think I might be getting a bit bored of it. I did reach a point where I wasn't able, for various reasons, to play it for 24 hours, and I thought maybe that's broken the back of it for me, because I didn't feel the need to go back. But as I've said before, it's just easy, and messing around in the depths, just lighting bits up, feels quite good. And when I've been working pretty hard this week, and when I don't have much energy to spend on anything else, I've been playing that 7 out of 10. I also played Animal Crossing for the first time in 3 or 4 years because I thought, Alice is of an age where I think she can enjoy this, and also she's been having nightmares, and I'm worrying that those come from watching me fight skeletons in Zelda. So put on Animal Crossing, and it is a good age for her. She enjoyed the intro, but then we reached the point where we're flying out to the island that I've spent hundreds of hours sculpting and is already. So I've got a choice now, Simon. Do I delete the island and all of that work, or do I let her exist on that island and not have the joy that she should be having, or do I get her own Switch?
Well, do you have an OLED Switch?
I do not.
Well, there you go. That's the answer. You buy yourself an OLED, hand it down. Come on.
Okay. Good. Glad we passed that motion in the company board of directors.
Yep.
Thank you.
No problem. I've got the Ally, the ROG Ally, or the ROG, Republic of Gamers Ally handheld device, is all set up and working very nicely. It has all the advantages of being a Windows handheld gaming PC, and all the disadvantages that come with being a Windows handheld gaming PC. In that it took a day or so of tinkering, on and off tinkering, to get quite right. It's absolutely not as straightforward to use as a Steam Deck in terms of starting up and shutting it down. However, the performance, the display, everything else about it is significantly better. And whilst it is annoying, taking slightly longer to get out of a Windows Hibernate than it would be from a Steam Deck Suspend, those sort of extra 4 or 5 seconds are worth a lot more when you're getting, between 40 and 50 FPS on Far Cry 60, when you're only running at 15 watts. So,
wasn't there some language that you learnt around the Steam Deck that you were using on the show once to do with performance?
No, it was targeting 40 frames a second, which is the sweet spot for handheld gaming. Anyway, there'll be more on that shortly, but I have been playing on it a game called Tiny Thor, which I had my eye on for ages. Again, going back to my time on the Amiga magazines, and my time as a games player before then. This is a modern take on 16-bit platformers. It's gorgeous, and it looks like you remember those games looking. It's significantly better than them when you compare them side by side, but it absolutely gives you the feels of a game of that era. You play a Tiny Thor, and you go around sort of retro platforming, puzzle platforming, chucking your massive hammer around that you can use for combat and you can use to solve puzzles. It's a side-on platformer, and so it almost writes itself, but it does it very, very well. It's a joy to play, listen to, and solve. I'm enjoying it a lot. 7 out of 10.
Good. Well done, Simon.
Thanks
for playing a new game this week. I'm going to endeavour to play several next week, one way or another. And maybe round out my time with Zelda. We'll see how that goes. I've enjoyed today. Thank you for the show.
Cheers. Nice to see. I can't do next Sunday.
You can't?
No. Got to do enough time, haven't we? Ooh. Going off to see the boys, Steve. Not seen the boys since May last year.
That's exciting. Who are the boys? QPR. Oh, it's Muse.
It is Muse. Yes, go and see Muse next Sunday.
Oh, that is exciting. Well, well done for that. I hope that goes well. I don't know what I'm doing next weekend, but hopefully
come and see Muse.
Should I? You know what happened last time.
Indeed.
Yeah. All right. I should also mention we've got another London gig for Maraoke coming up on let's say the 19th. It's the 3rd Saturday of July as well. So for those of you who hear this, see you there. But until next week, we've been One Life Left. Goodbye.